Hello and welcome to the first press conference dedicated to the International Film Festival Rotterdam 2023 Tiger Competition. My name's David Jenkins. I'm the editor of Little White Lies magazine, a UK film publication. Here it is in the flesh. Thank you all for having me in this position of chair and host of these Q&As today. Quick introduction into the Tiger competition itself. The competition was founded in 1995 with the aim of discovering, raising the profile of and rewarding up-and-coming international film talent. The Tiger Award is accompanied by a €40,000 cash prize to be shared between the director and producer of the winning film. 2 special jury awards worth €10,000 will also be presented to exceptional artistic achievement within the competition. Equally important is the international recognition for the nominees and their works, and the Tiger competition nomination brings with it. The Tiger Awards are an indispensable backdrop for filmmakers. They can be a final step to convincing financiers to fund a future project. So today we're going to be meeting 5 filmmakers who have made between them 4 films. Each film is going to get a sort of 10-15 minute slot where we're going to be asking a few questions. I'm going to sort of kick off the proceedings, but I'm very much keen on getting some audience participation. So please feel free to just sort of have your hands up as and when, and we can kind of move in and out and bring those questions in as and when. So that's the order of play. And final thing is to introduce the actual jury who are going to be giving out these awards. So the Tiger jury consists of 5 members, and I think we have a little video here to introduce them all. So we're going to be addressing the people in the room today, but as you can see from these cameras, there is an online audience as well. And if anyone following online has any questions for the filmmakers, they can send an email to press@iffr.com and they will hopefully respond ASAP. So in today's press conference, we're going to be speaking about 4 films. Indivision, which is also called in English Birdland, by Leila Kilani. The Spectre of Boko Haram by Siriel Rangu, New Strains by Artemis Shaw and Prashanth Kamalakathan, and Munnel by Vishaketha Chandra Sakarim. So first up, we're going to start with Indivision, or Birdland. In the hills of Tangier, in the midst of the forest stands a decrepit mansion, La Mansoria. Birdland looks at the violent rifts which form in a close family between those who want to sell the land to the real estate investors and those who want to preserve Mother Nature, particularly the bird life. At the film's centre is the young, mute and rebellious Lena, who both narrates the tale and supplies a poetic social commentary. Hi Leila, welcome to Rotterdam.
Thank you, and hello everybody.
My first question for you about the film is, I understand that many of the films that you've made and the sort of your cinematic back catalogue deals with life in Tangier, and particularly a kind of lyrical, dreamlike aspect of that world. And I'd love to hear how you sort of have taken that evolution and have landed on this film, Indivision, and the reasons of kind of behind making the film.
Well, between me and Tangier, it's really a love story. I try to escape, I try to avoid coming back, but I'm always attracted back to this city. The city is a crazy, amazing, fascinating land. It's like, driving a crazy car without any speed limit, and it's so cinematic, so powerful. So I tried to write other scripts, but I'm always, attracted back to Tangier. This film was a journey because it started like a while ago, on 2015, and we had some issues, financing issues, so it take us a while, but the journey worth it. And the original idea is the same cell. It's the family, a territory, and a kind of onirical and totally a kind of a fantasy revolution. And so the main theme is inheritance, but more generally it's to whom the property and the land and the earth in general belongs. So it's not that social, but it's, I don't like to be like too much like there is some contemporary issues like the nature, the political law, the political rights of the earth, but there is also this drama, and there is a thriller, and we were telling a story of a family, a story of a crazy, amazing, rebellious teenager who is really modern, and who is half a witch, half a rebellious person, half a lunatic. So that's mean a lot. But I mean the movie is like a modern tale, and I didn't want to give up, just to be very straightforward and say, okay, I have to make a thriller, or I have to make a social movie, or I do believe on cinema. So I do believe that we can experience vocabulary and a new way of telling this story inside aesthetical patterns and challenging. So it was, very exciting for us to, have this faith in cinema, which is so important for us. Cinema is not just, straightforward storytelling, and I'm a Netflix addict, and I have to confess that I need my pillow movie, I'm an insomniac person, but I do believe that, cinema is a religion, and this is a beautiful religion. Physically, you have to experience something that nowhere else you can experience, and these stories are like as powerful as Greek story, and as powerful, and I have this physical experience and physical relationship to cinema. So I'm not scared, and I was lucky enough to have a beautiful companionship and artistic family who followed me in my dreams, and also to have the birds believing in us. And we were lucky enough, and the film was totally flying with the birds. So literally. So it was a beautiful experience.
Can you talk a bit about the challenge of writing the film? Because the actual script is on all these different levels, where you have narration and you have drama that's happening in real life, and you have all these kind of separate like levels of commentary. It feels like it was a complex process.
Yeah, it was a complex process, and it was very hard to finance because, we with Emmanuel, who is also my very close friend and producer, we had to give up like a lot of funds because they wanted simple Arab way of telling the story, and it was like the question: is it a family? Is it a drama family? Is it a thriller? Is it social? And it has to be like, you have, okay, this is too much, and you have to choose. And we didn't want to choose, and we did believe that there is a way of keep writing story who are complex and who are believing that the audience can also be attracted, puzzled. We can raise questions, and we don't just need, pillow ways. So the movie was also, as I mentioned before, a long journey. So the film stopped. I mean, the shooting stopped, but what was a bad luck, of course, happened to be the best way to be lighter, freer, to be more inventive. So the original script twisted a bit, and it was thanks to our poverty. So let's be poor. It wasn't my choice, but we were just a small crew following the birds with the actors, and the script changed. The movie muted, but the original cell, the original script stayed the same. A family, a territory, an onirical revolution, and these girls, these teenagers, totally jailed inside the family, and who strongly believed that a revolution, their inner revolution, is possible. And I really want the movie to be led with this craziness of a teenagerhood. And thanks to Haram, and I hope we made it.
Well, can you talk a little bit about the character of Lena, because it's a very kind of unique presence, both as a character and as a kind of the way that she kind of helps tell the story of the film. Can you remember how she kind of came into your head, and how fully formed was she?
Well, the challenge was that I wanted a storyteller, like literally a storyteller of this generation. There is this generation who happened, there is a revolution like the Greek ancient, when they invented the tragedy. There was like a community, an agora, believing that a true story, a whole community can define themselves and find their identity. And we have the social media, which is this crazy, huge, repeating and also fascinating community. So people hated influencers, people hated all this generation, but you don't have to be judgmental. This is it. We can't go back. So I wanted a storyteller with these tools, with social media, totally grounded to our times and our behaving today. So the heroine is like she's a narcissistic, megalomaniac, as every teenager, and who can't be synchronized with an event. She can't just live an event. She has to tell it. So who doesn't know somebody like this? This is it. But also I wanted her to be a storyteller in a classical way, like in a theatrical way, and especially on an oriental tale way. That means that she couldn't be just straightforward or giving informations. So these challenges had to be melted in all the layers. So this is this mute person, totally lonely but totally powerful, who believed that she can change. Ifham, who is the main actress, said that she's a Greta Thunberg, Moroccan Greta Thunberg. She believed that she can change the world, but she's so lonely. She's in kind of way quite cynical, but she has this anger and rebellious. So I wanted teenager to identify to her, but also us, old audience, to be fascinated and puzzled with her. So I wanted to create a new character. I do watch a lot of teenage TV series with my daughter, and they're quite boring, but they know how. I was like, I'm always, except Euphoria, I'm always think I need a crazy girl. I need somebody who just make me embarrassed and comfortable. Somebody who I don't forget. This is the lot of people have. The audience, sometimes they love her, sometimes they hate her, but you won't forget her.
Are there any questions from the audience? Okay, we got one at the back there.
Hi, can you talk about the technical aspect of filming with fire and how you got emotions out of your actors during those times?
So for the audience at home, that was the talking about the technical aspects of the fire and getting the emotions out of audience during those scenes.
Yeah, I mean, that was the most challenging aspects on the script, because there were a lot of fires, and we weren't Hollywood, but we do believe that we were more powerful than Hollywood, because there are no special effects on the fires, no special effects on the birds. So we were like, cinematographic lunatic chaser. We chased fires, we chased birds. And
so some of these fire scenes were actually real kind of forest fires.
Yeah, but I mean, there is a game, a technical game that my DOP, who is also my lover, which helped.
Always helps.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of tension between us, but it helped, I guess. A lot of fight, but it helped also because it cost not that much. But yeah, technically, I mean, the fires was our obsession, because we have a co-producers on special effects, and when he showed me special effects fires, I start crying and saying I would feel so ashamed, I mean, to have these fires inside, because it has to be a fantasy. It has to be Miyazaki. It's the nature and the fires are really characters inside the movie. So I really wanted it to be, there is, of course, aesthetical patterns, but also to have this, sorry, I won't pronounce, or I don't know if it's the right word, stylisation of the fires, and to look like totally, unnatural. There's even though they are totally natural, I want them to look like an animated movie, or drones. And for the birds, we wanted the bird to be like actors. And when I told you it was really, something full of grace. I mean, I don't know how it happened, but we were 40 centimeters from the birds, and they were with us, with the camera, with the actors, and that was so powerful that we felt, that we beat Hollywood. We were better than them. You
Layla.
won't find. Tell me if you see one shot like ours in Hollywood. No.
On that note,
Special effects. If you see any fire, no. So we were stronger than Hollywood.
Layla, thank you so much.
Thank you.
That was great. Thank you very much, Layla Kulani. Next up, the Spectre of Boko Haram. Spectre of Boko Haram is an observational documentary which depicts life in the war zone in northern Cameroon through the prism of 3 children, Mohammed, Ibrahim and Falta. The film focuses on daily life and how these children are able to maintain a sense of innocence and unshakable joie de vivre against the traumatic atmosphere of the landscape. Cyrielle, welcome. My first question today is, I guess, directly relating to that clip. But I'd love to know how, as a filmmaker, you approach working with young children. What's the how do you prepare for doing stuff like that, and how does it actually relate to the experience of having these children in front of your camera?
Yeah. Hi. Thank you for having me. Oh God, it's been a very, very long journey. I started working on this film in 2016. And it was completely different approach. I was working with grown-up person, and after 3 years of researching, I thought to my producer, I'm sorry, we don't have a film.
Why did you think that?
Because after 3 years, I just realized that it was empty. I didn't feel the connection with my character. And I was still trying to depict the life in this zone, but I wasn't there yet. And of course, we already had development funds and everything. They was like, "No, why are you doing that to us?" I was like, "Please, give me more time, and I will send you something." And in the meantime, when I was working with that person, I was just I love when I'm in the research process. I love spending a lot of time in the space, sometimes not doing anything, just to hang out with people, discussing. And I just ended up realizing that I was having more fun with kids than grown-up person. And that's how I met the two brothers, Ibrahim and Mohamed. And they were just so spontaneous. So there was something in their eyes. When you see them, they have this spark. So I was like, yeah, I have my story. And yes, my producer was crazy enough to say yes again. So that's how I changed completely the story, the narrative, and focus on them. And since 2018, I've been going there back and forth and working. I was really, maybe because I still, when I'm tackling the story, it's like the souvenir of la Madeleine, of À la recherche du temps perdu. It's my childhood. I wanted to catch it again. And that's how I approach le Spectre de Boko Haram, seeing the life through children, like going back again in my childhood. Even though it was, their life is quite different from mine because they are in a striking disaster zone. But there they had the light, and I really wanted to go and find that light from the darkness. So.
Yeah, no, the film definitely has these contrasts where you have these moments of, like, you know, almost sort of physical comedy, and they're like little kind of clowns playing with each other, and then but there's this extreme darkness as they're kind of trying to process what's happening around them. And what was it like behind the camera when they were sort of acknowledging some of those darker aspects of what was happening?
Most of the time, it's like, with them, they can be like so deep, so touched by something, like, and the next moment it's just like, it's not that they are forgetting. The next thing, they don't want to talk about it. They want to play. They want to do anything else, but not related to their traumatic situation, because they didn't want to live as a victim. They always wanted to be children, but they happened to be born in the very dark moment in history, that zone. And that's how they were shaped. They just wanted to be kids, like any kids in the world. Yeah.
And what about their awareness of you? And I'd love to know how aware was everyone of what you were doing there, and how were you kind of explaining the project and your presence?
Most of the time, I wrote the film when I was scouting. This thing, like, I have my method of work is, I don't know, maybe it's crazy, but I will go there with the equipment and maybe the team, but more reduced team. It will be me, because I also did the camera most of the time, and one sound engineer, and maybe one assistant camera. And most of the time, I will let the equipment, and I will just go to live with people. Mm-hmm. And I spend more time there observing, like participating in the life. And then I always tell them that I'm a filmmaker and I'm interested in the life of children, not the grown-up. But the grown-up people, they was like, oh, that's fine. At the moment, she's not annoying me with her camera and all those questions, stupid questions. And if she can be playing with kids, it's kind of like the fact that I was working I decided to work in the children universe, kind of let the parents being free of their movement and let me do anything I wanted with children, because the camera was occupying children and taking them away.
So you're
for
babysitting.
Yes. So that's basically, and I really like that dynamics. They were so curious. They wanted to know everything, even how my cameras work, what I did before, what filmmakers look like, what is sound engineer, or all. They was really, really curious, and every time, you can't even see when I'm talking about it. It's just like, yeah, it's a lot of emotion, but in a very positive way. Like, and it even happened for me to forget that that zone was dangerous. Like, we were going to the village, and I was sleeping in the village only once a week when I had to shoot in the night. And by 5 p.m., I had to be out of the village. Otherwise, I couldn't profit from the military protection.
Right.
Yeah, so they are locking down the village by 5, and I had to be out or stay, but only once a week.
What I mean, as the title suggests, you have the Boko Haram exist as a kind of unseen presence in the film. I'd love to hear how, but they are very present in everything, and in the sort of subtext of people's language and how the people in the film act. And I wondered how when you were editing, how you made that presence felt.
To be honest, since the beginning, I wanted to depict a monster from the invisible, making the monster invisible but present in every shot.
So did you know the title of the film very early?
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, that's the thing. The film fans, they didn't want to fund the film because of the title.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I had a lot of trouble selling the film to the commissions because the title is so heavy. It's just so, can you change a little bit? Like, well, I will change one day. Even during the final cut, I was still saying I will change, and I finally kept it. So, yeah.
You won.
So, yeah, it was quite difficult because most of the time people was more attracted to Boko Haram than to this life, this part of the life I was seeing there. And yeah, I just wanted to be focused in that life. Knowing that life is the reality. Their life still very impacted. Everything they are doing is completely changed their way of living. And it's there. So even though there were no Boko Haram physically, like we have them at a moment in the film, but in every action, they are there. They are changing, they are shaping the narration of that population. That's how, even though there was not present in the film, there was there all over.
Is there any questions from the audience that we can pick up on? Oh, no, another one back there.
Were the kids able to see parts or the whole film when it was done?
The girl, because till now we are still looking for the two boys. Long story. They left when they were tired of waiting or having hope of finding their parents. They left the village and they went to Nigeria to find their parents. And even like 2 days ago, we are still hoping, because the production is still like saying we are still hoping to find them. But the girl and her family, I didn't want for now. It's still very sensitive. I cannot make a public screening in the village, but we make a private screening with the girl and all the other villagers who are in the film. We did that in the shift done, so it's really private screening because we need to protect people in that village. We still don't know who is collaborating because I didn't, like I said, the film was not about Boko Haram. There are a lot going on that is going to be part of my next project that is a fiction. So it's not a safe zone if you talk too much or, yeah.
Cyrielle, thank you so much for those answers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up we have New Strains. As a mysterious new variant of an unnamed pandemic emerges, a squabbling couple in lockdown starts acting like children. Artemis, Prashant, welcome.
Thank you.
My first question then is, I understand that you both have made work individually, and this is the first. Is this the first collaboration that you have done together?
It's the first time co-directing something.
Co-directing. I would love to know about the experience of that collaboration. I guess in the spirit of the film itself, as a two-hander about a relationship, and yeah, where is the division of labour, and how are ideas generated and agreed upon in the process of a project like New Strains?
This is a very interesting, kind of fun production for us. It's so unusual and different from the way we've shot films in the past, the way traditionally films are shot. I mean, the context of us making this was literally the first couple of months of COVID hitting New York City. We were locked down. Stores were shuttered, masks were out of stock, and we were looking at the film industry wondering, when will we be able to make our scripts? When will we be able to tell our stories again? In the middle of this, we found Artemis's old childhood high-8 camera in the closet and just started playing around with it. Those old consumer cameras have so much about them to love. I mean, like a 240x zoom, which trapped in our apartment. I could zoom into apartments across the street, down into the park. And so it was a really fun collaborative process of discovery. Artemis had kind of an idea for a play about this cruise ship. Like the first incidence of COVID in the U.S. was a cruise ship that was docked offshore. She was like, what if there was like a couple that needed to break up stuck on this cruise ship? And they were like, well, let's just set it in this apartment that we're stuck in. And we're the couple, And so it's very, and we worked off an outline. We developed our own characters. I don't know if there's anything else.
Yeah, I guess Prashant was the cinematographer. Well, he was the cinematographer, but the film is largely shot on sticks, and we would run into the frame. We had no camera operator, obviously, and I was the sound mixer, technically, and Prashant edited. Yeah. So we do have different sort of skills as filmmakers, and it worked out quite well, and it's funny how you can really see both of our filmmaking personalities in the movie.
Yeah, and we met in film school, and they teach you the traditional way of making movies. Before filmmaking, I was in music, and there's this thing in music, you have a band, and you sit around, you're noodling around. Some days you get a song, and some days you don't get a song, right? And this was it was so fun to bring that approach to filmmaking, kind of exploring and not knowing what we were going to find.
And in terms of I'd love to know how much did you end up shooting a lot and editing it back down, or was it fairly kind of structured and focused on on the sort of scenes and episodes that occur in the film?
It was pretty structured. We had an outline. There's only one very quick scene cut from the movie, so pretty much everything that we shot is in it. Wow. We improvised the dialogue, of course, but yeah, oddly, it was a pretty tight production, given that we were filming in a quite process-oriented way.
Yeah,
it's surprising. I mean, so let me just get this straight. You filmed this during the lockdown.
Yes.
Right. Okay. For some reason, I thought that this was a kind of you'd filmed afterwards and created this kind of simulacrum of of lockdown life, and this was kind of processing memories. But I guess in that case, I'll flip my question and say how. seeing the film must be fairly traumatizing for you, and the memory of those times maybe. I mean, I guess most people had a sort of fairly, depressing time in lockdown, and I mean, I don't know. Was it,
Well, yeah, as Solzhenitsyn said of his time in the gulags, that the ones with the project didn't lose their minds.
Right.
So that was kind of what I was thinking. But no, I mean, while we were filming it, the world was totally new to us. People wearing masks outside, everyone's scared. We were wiping down groceries at that time. We were stripping off our clothes when we came back home. And while we were filming this, we were just like, this is totally new. This is crazy. We should capture this. And it's been like kind of a up and down, because I think like 3-6 months period after we had shot, I was like, this sucks. No one wants to see this. We all want to forget this
We
stuff.
completed other projects in the meantime. So we were like,
Who wants to
No.
remember? Who wants to go back here, right? And then I think like it was like a year and a half later, we started looking back at the material. I mean, it was about like 2 years of slowly editing this, and we were like, wow, this was like a really a moment frozen in time. Yeah.
I will say that I think, you speak about trauma. I think a lot of the reason a lot of these COVID films, this isn't the only COVID film to be made in lockdown. I think a lot of the reason that people haven't liked them is that they're often very self-serious and wah-wah. And I think part of what we're exploring in the satire of this film is looking at this class of quite privileged people who weren't essential workers, who are wasting away at home, feeling very bad for themselves. And I think we were interested in the idea that there's like chaos and tragedy happening outside. We could hear sirens all day in New York City during this time, but we were, in a living room baking and, on unemployment. So I think we were that's part of the satirical element.
Yeah, the weird kind of disjuncture between the world ending and being extremely bored while it ends.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the one of the aspects of the film as well, it's sort of, and I guess a lot of people will relate this through their memories of the lockdown, is this idea of the kind of comedy of discomfort, and that kind of comes out in various ways in like the interaction between your character and this sort of breakdown of the relationship. And I guess I would love to know, like, was it sort of funny as you were doing it? Were you aware of the kind of comic that this was this is going to be a funny film?
I think we were trying to be fun. I mean,
Sorry if that sounds disingenuous.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, there's always a thin line between laughing at and laughing with. But again, you kind of laugh to keep from crying. That's another thing that people say. Was it a funny film? Oh yeah, and then the other thing, we know each other very well, and I guess we wanted comedy, but we also wanted drama. We also wanted the audience to lean forward and be thrilled by what was going to happen next. I think my approach, at least, was to play the most annoying version of myself possible, just to drive her extra crazy.
Yeah.
And so I think you see that.
Yeah, I think we amplified our various flaws, and that's where a lot of the comedy comes from.
And this idea of the kind of the testing of the bounds of this relationship. I mean, was that based on any kind of reality there? If I'm a
I mean, we didn't mention we are married.
Yes.
Yes. So.
Former lovers, current spouses.
Yeah. I guess at the time we weren't. The big question was, when is he going to propose at the time of this film? I think that we were definitely like pulling from real arguments and real fights, but it was all very friendly, obviously. But there were lots of moments where I said, remember the time you did this very annoying thing to me, and I reacted by laughing, and that's like, all of those were very common occurrences, and we hadn't acted before, so it was much easier to pull from things that had happened in various iterations in our relationship.
It's very interesting. I mean, we learned directing theoretically, and then so we were learning. It was like kind of testing our directing theories on each other. It's like it's like I remember that time, and now we're rolling.
Yeah.
It's
pretty fun.
Is there any audience questions? Anyone out there want to? Go for it.
Are you being paid by the festival?
Yeah.
Did you have to adapt kind of the personalities as COVID was kind of developing and as things were changing and evolving?
So did you have to adapt the characters as the kind of the COVID saga
Yeah.
was extending?
So I'll say, luckily, what we did is it's not we filmed it during the COVID lockdown, but the pandemic is a sci-fi inflected alternate world pandemic where it's an unnamed, we never name it, it's just the new strain of the virus. And I was kind of anticipating that because it was all so new. We're like, we don't know where this is going to go, but there's something interesting about what it's doing to us as individuals and as a society. And so the pandemic in the film, should we say?
Sure.
Well, it gradually turns you back into a childlike state of mind. And so it's a little bit allegorical as well, but that's more for the film studies heads in the audience. Yeah.
And I would actually love to know, in terms of like the pandemic and the COVID lockdown, it was all about kind of restriction and being very limited in what people could do and how people could live. And whereas by contrast, your film feels quite free within the sort of strictures of the lockdown. And were there any issues you encountered filming where it was like shots that you wanted that you maybe couldn't have got because we can't go outside or we can't look out this way, or cops hassling you kind of thing?
No, I mean, like every film I've made, I get cops hassling me, you know, and numerous people hassling me, critics.
Sorry.
But with this one, it was so freeing. I think you're right. I mean, there's the thing about being restrictions helping any artist, you know, and being in this very tiny box and trying to find every little ray of freedom we could get. And so it was incredibly free. We didn't permit any of this, you know, we're running around with our little tiny camera. People didn't even notice because it was a camcorder. So yeah, I think that feeling of freedom that we were finding in that context was, you can feel it in the film.
Yeah, and I think it was an interesting process for us artistically, because if we think about our, artistic references, a lot of them shoot on sticks anyway. I think a lot of people, we're in general very interested in like the sense of a pressure cooker type of comedy. And the fact that we were filming, on sticks, on height, and mixing that with, quite rapid movement camcorder, which was very convenient for us when that was pretty much the only thing available, really aligned with our artistic interests anyway.
I love that you picked the camcorder over a phone. Actually, it gives the film a kind of artifact.
Yeah, it's funny. The high
aesthetic.
8 camera, it's like, if you're born between 85 and 95, it's very likely that your childhood videos were filmed on this very short-lived technology. And so for folks our age, it feels very nostalgic and very tactile. And I think we like that it felt handmade. It's technically analog medium. So we were very drawn to the idea that this is a medium that feels like an already dated technology, but that it seems to be trendy now to do high-8 movies for people our age for a reason.
It's film too. It's just what's weird about it. It's organic but inorganic. It's kind of encapsulate a lot of the duality of this film. It's got like a life to it when you start filming that's unpredictable. But then you got to like hook it up into a computer. I mean, that was madness. Just getting this film on a computer to edit.
I've got to wrap it up now, I'm afraid, but that thank you so much,
Thank
Artemis
you.
Prasant.
Thank you.
And finally up today is Munnel. Rudran, an ex-Tamil militant, returns home released from prison, looking for his lover, Vani, who has disappeared during the war. Rudran's mother, Salama, who is gifted with a boon of soothsaying, tells villagers whether their kith and kin are alive or dead after the war, but she refuses to say the same about Vani. Rishiketha, welcome. The first question I have about this film relates to its production, and I understand that it was a very difficult film to make in Sri Lanka during a very kind of tumultuous political time. Could you talk a bit about the actual production of the film and the problems you had in actually bringing this film to life?
Yeah, to start with, actually, it's a film made with a lot of local people from Jaffna Peninsula. So in the south, where majority of people speak Sinhala. There is already a film industry, and people who are trained to do what they're doing. In the north, not so, and it's a very small population. So, and then also the military occupies the north. This is after the Civil War. You probably have heard of the Tamil Tigers, and they fought a war for 30 years and they lost the war. And after that, still military is occupying the area and under high surveillance. So you can't really do without their knowledge. And then this film is about the Tamil Tigers, so that means it's become super sensitive. And on top of that, we had some filming to do with military uniforms and weapon replicas. That is so difficult. In fact, the military gave us permission demanding that certain scenes should be removed. We haven't. And we won't. And then on top of that, there is an occupied movement in the south. You might have seen on news that this is the time that a lot of young people and older people congregated in certain parts of the southern cities and demanded that the incompetent president should leave. And we haven't seen in that country anything like that before. And so yeah, and basically we move back and forth in this occupied territory area in order to make sure that we have enough people there. Meantime, I wanted to make a movie, and then the movie is in the north where there is no occupied movement. So it is difficult, and sometimes some of the friends that I wanted to work with, they are also in the occupied movement, so I can't get them out. So I managed to get one guy out, the art director. He reluctantly came, and then what happened was the price of all the goods, materials, food, fuel going up, and there were predictions that the diesel price is going to double. So and also there are no fuel. There are queues which are longer than 1 kilometers for fuel, and they don't move. And I'm not kidding, that was happening. So I said, if we want to do this movie, I want X number of diesel liters in my stock, which is prohibited anyway. You can't stock diesel.
So who were you saying that to?
To my production manager.
Yeah.
So we purchased a lot of diesel, and then we stocked some food, which we can, like rice and things like that, dry food. And we were about to start shooting, and about 2 days before, the occupied movement in the south was attacked by some thugs, and then there was a retaliation, and some of the politicians' houses were torched, and it was just like a war zone in the south. And the north was relatively calm. So you were kind of were in the in a situation, should I pull the plug out of this project, or are we going ahead? And we decided to go ahead. And so on the last day of our filming, we just ran out of fuel.
Wow. and what kind? I mean, from what you're saying here, it sounds like there was the possibility of personal danger for yourself, and just extend the line.
Yeah.
I mean, was that the case? Were you? I mean, were you having to bow to any kind of pressures from military or?
Yes, up to a certain degree, but at the same time, how can I say this? So I'm a lawyer, and I'm a university lecturer in the law school. So there is, in these semi-feudal societies, it comes with, these sort of positions have some civil power. So they might harass an ordinary filmmaker, but because whatever the titles I have, whether I like it or not, they might be a bit hands-off. So I didn't have a lot of problems, just few issues, but no major problems. Yes, so there is danger in the past, there is danger in the present, there is danger in the future, when we are ready to just release a film. But that's part of political filmmaking, I guess.
I mean, considering it is ostensibly a war movie where you have a kind of conflict that is occurring and that has occurred, and it's remarkably tranquil, and I guess it's about self-reflection and people trying to sort of pick up the pieces of their lives. And I'd love to know how you develop the story of the film, particularly around the main character.
Yeah, look, the story must be about 10, even longer. Yeah, about 10 years old.
Based on anyone real?
Yes, it originally started with this man who is, who is disabled, and he was not necessarily a former rebel, and it was about the mother and the son, and then it kind of gradually started building up. One of the turning point is I went to, so I was going back and forth to the north, and I went to see the area which was where the final battle took place, where a lot of people were massacred, and it is a very unfortunate black and very gloomy history, recent history in our political history, fabric. And so one of my colleagues said, "Oh, you are there in that particular town. You must go and meet this woman. You don't believe how correct her predictions are." I was intrigued. I don't believe a lot about this whole soothsaying stuff. And I went to see her, and she was a very modest woman, very friendly, friendlier than our character actually. And she welcomed us, and she said, "Today is not the day that I soothsay." So there are 2 days that she would do that. But she told something that really stuck in my mind. She told me, the goddess mother told us, all these 10 people in these 10 villages will be reduced to one village. And, we will be, there will be, fire coming from the sky, and, all sort of things. And then she said very, very interesting thing. She said, the goddess mother, I get goosebumps even when I think about this. Goddess mother will open a path along the sea, and she will show you the way to escape. And she basically said she will open a path, she will draw a line. What does it mean? Draw a line and open a path on the sea?
Was she talking to you specifically?
She was talking to me about what her goddess told her. And then she said, that's exactly what happened. We were kind of walking on a line in the lagoon, so it's not really sea, it's a lagoon. We were walking on a line just to escape to the military side. Escape to the military side is another thing. You are basically escaping to your enemy. Yeah. But what I wanted to say is that whole idea of line. So what she meant by line is that people have to walk on a line. So the very first bit of news footage that you see in the movie is that. So it is a memory that I can't get rid of from my mind, and that people have to walk on a line on the lagoon just to avoid being fired. So the military ordered them to walk on a line, so they were firing both sides of the line just to make sure, just to create some sort of a virtual path. So anyway, so whether it is goddess created or the military created, I don't know, but the thing is, she was so convinced that was the prediction that came true. So I included that into my screenplay, and there were a lot of things. So
have you seen her since?
No, I haven't. I don't know whether she exists or not, but I should have gone and seen her. And then the thing is, the Tamil society, when the attack is imminent, when you don't know when you're going to be attacked, not by simple handguns, but by artillery and mortars, you just have to rely on somebody. Nobody is telling you you're going to be attacked tomorrow. So these people are relying on goddess and gods. And don't ask me whether I believe in them or whether it is true. But the thing is, sometimes, they are warned, well, get out of the place, and, they are attacking. So people pack up and go. So, and, this happens so many times. There are so many people who are just telling these things because that's the only way to be warned of, because the government has failed. So the goddess and the gods took over. And in our film, of course, the gourd also sometimes fails. But the other thing I wanted to mention about the film is that some of these dialogues that come up in the courts, particularly, they were from my experience when I was working as a lawyer. So I was mostly defending the Tamil tiger prisoners. I mean, they are not necessarily Tamil tigers, but they were suspected and they were arrested, and most of them are innocent. So I think it's a combination of all those things, experiences.
I'm going to open it up to the floor to see if there is a question. Oh, hold it. Any questions? Go on then.
Hi, can you speak more about filmmaking today in Sri Lanka after the economic and political turmoil of last year, and whether you still need to take such precautions like the ones that you went through with your film, filling up the tank and getting to, or has it stabilized to a much better level now?
Can I just repeat that so we can hear it? So it's talking about filming in Sri Lanka after the sort of political experiences there recently, and I guess the logistics. And I guess I would add, like, would this film get a release in Sri Lanka?
Look, things are seemingly stabilized, but I think we are just sitting on a volcano. And I think the currency value is going to drastically go down, and we will be in a huge mess soon again. And the current government they don't have any public mandate. They're holding on to power because they just don't know what they can do without power, because that's hugely corrupt. And then in terms of filmmaking, so we can't just, you can't just predict what's going to be like tomorrow, so you can't start anything. And the price of everything has gone up, and so virtually it is impossible for independent filmmakers like us to get into the cinema again. So I think, if I'm intending to make films in Sri Lanka, I just put it on hold for another 3-4 years. That's how bad situation is. But in terms of releasing films, it's just, I'm trying to understand this whole conundrum of people don't have money, people are so poor, some people are starving, but still some of our luxury film, cinemas are opened. And, Avatar, all these Bollywood blockbusters are running for months without any problem of having audiences. So it's the releasing part, I mean, it is working for some people. I really don't know how it will be, since it is a sleeping volcano. Things will be really bad soon. I don't know.
Thank you so much. That was amazing. Thanks to all the filmmakers today. We're going to wrap things up now. But if you follow, as I said at the top end, if you follow us online, please feel free to send questions through to press@iffr.com. Tomorrow's press conference will take place a bit earlier at 11 a.m. Central European Time, and the same venue at the heart of Rotterdam's hub, the Dolen. The lineup tomorrow will feature four filmmakers: Gustav Geer Bollesen, director of Man Verki; Guido van der Werf, director of Nummer 18; Philip Sotnichenko, director of La Palaciada; and Teng Yuhan, director of Gagaland. Thanks again to all the filmmakers and their amazing answers to the questions, and thanks to the audience at home.